Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you are all doing well. A little bit of a preface to this. I found this article, I thought it was incredibly interesting. I will tell you why afterwards, obviously, but I think it's something that I think I've wanted to talk about this before. Haven't really gotten around to it. It didn't seem exceptionally relevant to the conversations that we were having before, but lo and behold, like I said, I found this and I thought it was interesting. Side note, not financial advice. I know you've heard me say that before, just in case anyone is new and they don't know the game. Yeah, let us start off. It says every year US citizens spend north of $70 billion with a B on state lottery tickets. That's almost $8 billion more than the entire market cap of Bitcoin and more than half of the entire crypto market as a whole. It has some, it talks about, the article talks about other things. I'm going to get to the actual numbers. In 2016, some $80.55 billion was readily thrown away on what it is, intents and purposes, just another tax, albeit one that citizens are willing to pay. For those who don't know, have never actually heard this before, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, the lotto is another tax, and you may not have known this before. I guess I'll give you a little bit of a little dash of information. In the world that I grew up, I knew an enormous amount of people who played the lotto. It was like a daily thing for them. It was their way of trying to strike it rich, make a lot of money. This is how we're going to improve our lives. This is how we're going to be better off. And I saw the money going away, being thrown down the drain. And I think it's very interesting to see how a lot of people deal with the lotto, and they don't realize that it's even when we get further onto the numbers, it'll make you feel really kind of ridiculous. I've never played the lotto myself ever. I got it from the very beginning that it was a scam. Typically when you have things like this going on, especially in the United States where I'm from, if you are from the States, you've definitely seen this yourself. For those who are unaware, the United States has very crazy lotteries. So we'll have situations, I think the last lotto, like the major one, I think it's called the Mega Millions. I think it was like over $1 billion. That's a billion with a B. And it usually typically ends up going to like one person, and then like a sprinkle of other like 5, 6, 7, 8 other people end up winning a couple million. But it comes at people throw all their money into this system with high hopes of becoming extremely rich. And it ties into the thing that I've said before. I feel like that so many people in the world are focusing on other things, trying to, I don't want to say become rich. It's like, I think a lot of people don't understand or know what cryptocurrencies are. And this is why I think that they still rely on a lot of other systems like this. You'll kind of get it as I'm going a bit more through it, but it's very worrying, all the numbers. So here's an actual chart. It says sales of state lotteries in the US from 2009 up to 2016. As you can see, if you are looking at the screen, even if you are not, the chart from 2009 has gone up by around, was that $22 billion? It's continuously going up every single year. In 2017, the number dropped a little, with CNN placing it approximately at $73 billion that were spent. It says, here's another mind blower for you. Almost half of all U.S. adults buy a state lottery ticket. Around 5% of them hold Bitcoin. Growing up, I think every adult I knew played the lotto. Every adult I knew had been playing the lotto since I think they turned 18, and they never won. They would win here and there. It was a couple hundred or something like that, but there was never a situation where anyone had ever hit the jackpot, if you will. For the U.S., I believe at the moment has around 350 million people, if I'm not mistaken. So general estimate, let's say around 175 million are probably eligible over the age of 18. So let's say a good probably 100 million people in the U.S. are probably playing the lotto in some sort of way every single year, pretty much throwing away billions of dollars. They also talk about the amount of users that Facebook has in this chart right here. It says, how much does crypto have? It hasn't quite even pierced 32 million people yet, with Bitcoin Market Journal placing the number at 22 million Bitcoin wallets as of July of last year. They talk about Facebook having a bit of a head start, if you will. They talk about the other things that Facebook doing. It says, Bitcoin may be all-consuming in the lives of many, but is barely a fly in the wall, a windshield of most people around the world. It's still early days. However, let's do the math. According to the Washington Post, taking a state-by-state average on U.S. lottery spent or spending places during the figure at around $600 U.S. every single year per person. If the average person had invested $600 in Bitcoin in January 2016, they would have scored around 1.25 Bitcoin. By January 2018, they would have had around $21,000. Even if they didn't cash in on their investment back then, they'd still have around $4,500 now, rather than more useful than a pile of scrap paper. This is why I said not financial advice. This is not me telling you to go out there and buy other cryptocurrencies and or Bitcoin. This goes back to the whole point of this is this came at a very interesting time in my crypto life, where I've been trying to figure out how to not foster adoption in the cryptocurrency space, but rather why people do certain things with their money that they know will not benefit them later, if that kind of makes a lot of sense. I have seen an enormous amount of people, whether they be close to me or not, in the last couple of years, who have no control over their finances as far as like buying things or putting their money into other things that they really don't need, whether that is new shoes, new clothes, new television, cars, watches, holidays, vacations, whatever you kind of want to say. And I thought of something, I may have even mentioned this sometime last year. I thought it was, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this because this has flown through my head before. I said, imagine how different the cryptocurrency space would be if we had people who played the lotto, who had done all these other things, and they simply had put their money into Bitcoin or to cryptocurrencies. Imagine if every single year over the last 3 years, we had, is that correct? Had we had, whatever the case might be, this much money flowing into Bitcoin or into other cryptocurrencies. I've seen it myself before. A lot of people buy into the lotto and they don't win because the chances of actually winning the lotto are astronomically high. And you can even Google it. If you like Google like Mega Millions or even trying to watch it on YouTube, you see like the frenzy. There were certain people in the States. And this is just the craziest part is that we're only focusing on the United States for this argument. Imagine how crazy lotto is in many other countries as well. So imagine you have a situation where on the TV, they were showing these people who were buying these Mega Million tickets, and these people were spending $50 on lottery tickets, $75. There were a couple of people who had just gotten their paycheck, and they spent all $500 on a pile of tickets that did not win. It's just I can't really say it because part of my problem is that it's something really perplexing to me. I can't tell people what to do with their money, but certain things are far more obvious to me than I think other people maybe get, and that's not including all of you listening and or watching right now. I mean, as far as logically, I was watching something a couple years ago. There was actually a TV show. It was like what people did with their lottery winnings. That wasn't the exact name of it, but it was one of those shows like where they show people who are like winning and they're rolling around like a bed of fake money and like the things that they end up doing with their money, and then they catch up with them 4 years later and they're all completely broke. They were showing this guy, and I'll never forget it in my entire life. He won a couple of $1 million. He had to be maybe 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, somewhere around that age. And instead of investing in real estate or in property so that he could have some type of a monthly income, he decided to launch like an all-female wrestling type thing where they had to like fight in yogurt and all this other stuff, and it was just extremely odd. And then by the end of the episode, they like had like, you know, like you've seen the TV shows where they have the person like sitting on their bed or like sitting in a chair afterwards, and they have like the words like scrolling by and they like slowly fade away as they talk about like what the person is doing now. He lost all of his money in like a year because it was more important for him to actually spend his money on cars and yogurt wrestling than actual like real world things. I don't know if it just has to do with not understanding how to deal with money. This is a really big problem right now, I think, in a lot of countries, but it's in specifically if we're focusing on the United States. As far as like I remember growing up, and I remember a lot of my other friends have the exact same issue. We weren't really taught about finance when we were in school. We were taught important things about science, but there was never really a class that taught us how to pay our taxes, how to take out a mortgage, how to file things. You know, it was always. I want to say economic ignorance. I'm not exactly sure what it is, and this is why I made sure as I got older to completely go headfirst into finance, so that I understand money a lot more and that I know exactly what to do with money. I didn't mean to spend too much time on this. It was just something that I thought need to be said. There's so many, and I can only assume at least one person out there probably plays the lotto. It's not worth it. It's known, if you even Google around for it, the lottery is known as a tax that other people don't consider a tax, but they pay billions of dollars into, that usually ends up going to the pockets of governments and or banks or other institutions and stuff like that. Like, it never actually goes to, like, if all this money like went to infrastructure and like building roads and schools and stuff like that, that'd be completely fine. But then it just drives me crazy because I don't understand where the logic is. Like, I understand the idea that you want to put money into something with the hope of potentially becoming incredibly rich and being able to brag to people, but you won't. It's not going to happen. How long have you or anyone else been playing the lotto and you still have not struck it rich? Like, what is this thing that tells people inside of their heads that there's 100 million other people also playing the exact same game that I'm playing, but I'm going to win? No one else is going to win this entire big thing. I'm going to spend my paycheck or half my entire paycheck to put my money into this so that I can win money, and then they don't end up winning. It's like running into a window, and you think the 300th time that the window won't hurt your face anymore, like that you're gonna completely break through it and you're gonna grow wings and fly away. It's one of the many frustrations that I have. I thought about being an economic what's the word, like a financial advisor many years ago before I started my foray into cryptocurrencies, but I decided against it because I tried even helping a number of like friends, not really family members sometimes depending on who was asking, but just to let people understand finance a bit more and tell them how to grow their money and where to put their money and what to invest in and the things to really look for. And no one really listens. Like, people like to say that they're going to listen and that they're going to do something. Like, even the situation that we have right now, like, imagine if all these people realized the real world prospects of cryptocurrencies and where they're going to go simply because of all the news that we've had in 2018. And they decided, imagine if instead of putting $600 a year on pieces of paper for something that you're not going to win, you injected that directly into the cryptocurrency space. Not financial advice, not me telling you to do it. One of my biggest frustrations with this channel is that I can't tell people the obvious because it ends up then being financial advice, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's so much more like, would you rather have yogurt wrestling, or would you rather buy 10 condominiums or apartments or flats that are going to get you $800 a month, and therefore you're getting $8,000 a month from doing absolutely nothing? It's just very logical, simple things that I see, and I was hoping that other people would kind of see it as well, because once again, these are going to be the exact same people years later who are going to, and I know it's going to happen because I've seen it happening before. These are going to be the people who are very upset with the system, who are upset with the government, who are upset with the everything, because for the last couple of years, and like, imagine, you know what 10 years of 600, that's $6,000 being able, imagine if you had put $6,000 into Bitcoin in 2012 when the price was like $15, $16, $17, $25, somewhere around there. I don't know. I guess it's just my frustration with the human condition that people don't really look ahead, and I know that they're not going to right now. And one of my biggest fears and this is just kind of how I'm personally seeing the market evolve as the prices as the prices have been going down in 2018. I've noticed a very quick and simple trend that has happened. My subscriber base has grown, but it's basically just new people who are kind of getting into the market, and a lot of the other people have kind of like completely flushed themselves out of the market. These are the same exact people. I don't know them. I'm going to assume that a lot of them probably play the lotto. They have not been winning the lotto. And the moment that cryptocurrency start going back up again in prices, these same people are going to throw themselves into the cryptocurrency market when they could have been making gains the entire time. They could have been learning more. So many people, like so many other crypto YouTubers, completely backed out of the space as well as prices started falling down. It's just a very, very odd situation, the entire thing. I don't really get it. I want to understand it. You know how big... Like, if we're just focusing on the United States at this point, you know how gigantic cryptocurrencies would be if people around the world not only didn't play the lotto, invested in crypto instead, and tried to really get a full grasp on what Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space actually is? Like, can you imagine a world where people, instead of complaining about not having money, put money into Bitcoin? Bitcoin became so huge and so stable that the rest of the market also went up in price and everyone became rich. And then I don't know. Once again, this leads me to like some, I feel like I'm weird. I feel like I just have my own ideas of how life is supposed to be. It's nonsensical to put your money into so many. I mean, this is all for those who like years, well, I guess like a year and a half ago, 2 years maybe, when I had my other videos, they kind of like blended into this topic a little tiny bit. I had some other videos and I was talking about like people buying lottery tickets and other like things to invest in, like where to put your money, as opposed to like crap, kind of the easiest word to say. There was a video that I when I first, before I got into cryptocurrencies, when I was like in the very beginning of getting into like mutual funds and stuff like that, there was a channel that kind of gave me like a huge amount of inspiration. I have no idea if this channel still exists. It was this guy who he was a little overweight, to be honest, and he mentioned in the video, he said that every single day whenever he would go home from work, he would always buy like a couple candy bars, he would buy some chips, he would buy a whole bunch of other things, he would go home, drink some soda, eat all this stuff, fall asleep in front of the TV. And one day he decided, he was like, I'm going to actually, the money that I would have spent on these things that I don't really need, that are making me unhealthy, that are not, you know, prolonging my life, he decided to take that money, and at the end of the week, because he was doing this every single day, he said at the end of the week, he would go, and I think he was buying like some gold and silver, like actual physical gold and silver. And I was clicking through all of his videos, like progressing to see how much he had changed. And I think by the time, like it had to be a good year and a half of progression through his videos, just the money that he had saved, the money from like he liquidated a whole bunch of stuff in his house he didn't need. I think he had like a 2-bedroom. He had like 4 TVs. There were TVs all over the place. There was so many clothes that he couldn't wear anymore. All the other stuff. He sold them all on eBay. And by the last video that I saw, this had to be 3 something and a half, maybe even more years ago. He had $60,000 in gold and silver. And I sat there and I was like, how many other times, and this is pointed to all of you as well, how many other times have you like actually sat back and reflected on how much money you've wasted on so many things that you didn't need, going to parties, going out drinking, smoking when you know you shouldn't be smoking, all these crazy things that we do when we know in our heart that we shouldn't be doing? Imagine how much more financially better off you would have been. Like, imagine having not to ramble on, but imagine having like a job, you know, people have jobs, and being able to like actually control yourself and saving $7,000 a year. It's definitely possible depending on what kind of job you have, just throwing it out there. And after 10 years, if you had saved $70,000 and you had adamantly looked for like some type of an investment property that could get you $500, $600, $700 in rent per month, like how different your life would be with that extra $700. Like, it's just these really weird things, and I get so upset because I have so many friends right now. Hello, and I'm sorry if you're listening, but this is also geared towards you, who people don't look towards the future. Like, everyone just cares about right now, and this is why I get so frustrated sometimes when so many people are just caring about the cryptocurrency prices right now. There's so many people who are in crypto right now who plan on cashing out the moment Bitcoin gets back to 20,000. Do you know how many comments I've seen people talking about the moment it gets back and I break even, I'm cashing out? You know how nonsensical that is? If Bitcoin goes from $3,600 and shoots up to $20,000, logically one can assume it's probably going to hit $20,001, probably going to hit $21,000. And if we've gotten that far, especially with all the extra infrastructure that we have in the cryptocurrency space, we're probably going to hit 30,000 and 40,000 and 50,000 and continue on as more people entering the cryptocurrency sector, space, sphere. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It kind of frustrates me so much. I've seen so many things in my life already. I'm not even that old, with people just completely wasting their money. Like how much of a waste this is. Like think of all the extra money that you've wasted in your life. Think of what you could have done because it's gone. What you could have done with that. Imagine having an additional $15,000, $20,000 that you saved over the course of the last 10 years that you were saving for a rainy day that you could invest in cryptocurrencies right now. And it's the same exact thing with these people who are buying lottery tickets. It bothers me so much because so many people don't realize that they're being duped. So many people don't realize that it is a tax on them. It's a way for the government to actually get more money from you even after you've already had to pay your taxes. Think about that. Like imagine having to already pay taxes legally and stuff like that, and then you still continue to throw more money away that you're never actually going to get back, in this money that you could have saved, even if you decided to save it over the course of a 40, 50 year period that you could have given away to your kids, given away to your grandkids. You could have bought a little bungalow or something somewhere, but all this money is completely gone, and this is going to continue happening. And I'm so sure that we're going to get to a point very, very soon, maybe not this year, maybe not the next. Who knows when it's going to happen, when cryptocurrencies are going back up. And I, by the point, and I can feel it. Cryptocurrency, and I told you guys before, oh my gosh. When Bitcoin was going up in price, no one cared until we hit the $10,000 mark. And I think even when we passed 10 to 20,000 this time, like it'll still, people are like, wow, Bitcoin went back up to exactly where it was before. People are not going to care until Bitcoin passes $100,000. We're going to see a huge frenzy of people desperately trying to get into the cryptocurrency space. And at this point, the same exact people, not financial advice, who could be getting to the cryptocurrency space right now with money that they should be saving, aren't even going to be able to get 0.01%, no, 0.01 of a Bitcoin. Remember, oh my gosh, what was it? Remember the entire rhetoric of 2018 where people were talking about, even at the end of 2017, people were talking about that eventually Bitcoin is going to go so high in value that there's not even enough Bitcoin floating around out there for all the millionaires in the world. And eventually there are going to be certain millionaires in the world who are only going to be able to get like 0.75 of a Bitcoin, 0. So and so. And so like it'll be like this huge frenzy that's going to happen almost overnight because people will realize how few there are out there. Then we're going to have so many friends, so many family members who are going to ask you, I'm pointing at all of you out there, how to get into cryptocurrencies, the same exact thing that you were telling them for years that they did not listen to you about. And then they'll boast and brag about how they own 0.01 of a Bitcoin when Bitcoin's price is 100,000. It's just all completely nonsensical. I didn't mean to spend that much time on this, but there's so many things that I think about, and it's like, I just know... If you find it in your heart and find the time, just learn more about finance, learn how to save money, learn how not to spend it on things that you don't need. I'm going to assume that a large number of people out there listening to my videos are probably not 92 years old, maybe not 95 years old. I'm going to assume you have a couple of years, many years probably left in your life. Learn how to not waste your money. It's completely insane. The wastage. I think it's wastage that I see, and it's just, it's absolutely mind-boggling. I made this channel, especially the original intent of this channel was to teach people about finance, teach people about stocks, about bonds, about investment funds, about retirement funds, about how money works, about where to put your money and how to get the best returns and stuff like that. So this is why I transitioned over into cryptocurrencies, because the gains that you can make are just astronomically higher than traditional finance. But I'm really afraid because I mentioned before in one of my other videos, and I think people maybe took it as a joke. I don't know if people thought I was just kind of like just saying something to say it. The world is crap right now. I don't know if you realize it. I definitely see it all around me. There's been a huge spike in homelessness. There's been a huge spike in people not being able to afford their rent, to be able to buy a home. Like, all these things are happening, and this isn't going to go away. Like, it's not going to get better as time goes on. Like, there's not going to be a situation in the next 5 years where, like, we enter this like utopian world where everyone gets money for free and the money starts falling from the sky and everyone wakes up and looks under their pillow and there's a gold coin. It's not going to happen. More people are going to be financially pressed more and more as time goes on. Like, think about where the world was 15, 20 years ago. Think of where we are right now. Do you see things getting any better over the course of the next 20 years? Like, think of how horrible it's going to be for so many people right now. There's a situation. There was an article a couple of days ago. It was talking about, my gosh, what was it? It said, I think if you make, it's either 107 or 170. I can see the numbers in my head, but I can't put them correctly. I think it said if you make less than $170,000 in certain parts of California, you're considered low income. What? You know how much money? You know how much money 6 figures is, and then you're still considered low income? Just imagine, as time continues to go on. I had a conversation with another, this was years and years and years ago, and I was telling them, we were talking about the changing cities and how much more expensive things were getting, and they, for some reason, they couldn't fit it into their head why things were becoming so much more expensive. And then I explained inflation to them, and they were like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And they were like, but where are all these rich people coming from? And I stopped and I was like, think logically. Let's say we have a very rich family somewhere. First of all, for those who don't know, if you have money, it's very easy to make money. Imagine, let's say there's even a mother and father, for the sake of argument, very rich. They found a way to increase their net wealth by 10 to 15% every single year just from their investments. They end up having 2 kids. As time goes on, their kids hit around 20-something, 25, 26, 27. Those kids end up having 2 kids as well. Those kids end up growing up, and we have, more and more generations of people. I saw a documentary as well, but this was years ago, with people talking about they were so confused as to who can afford all these million flat so-and-so apartments around the world. And it's like, it's rich people are having kids, and those kids are also having kids, and those kids also know how to, the money's kept in the family, and this is why they're absorbing everything. I'm not going to even get into a conversation about countries that are like buying up other countries and stuff like that, and like their land and their buildings and stuff like that. That's a completely different thing. The point is, after all of this, generational wealth is something that a lot of people don't look into. I'm terrified of when the cryptocurrency market is going to go up and people are going to squander and spend all the money that they've made. And I'm glad this is why the whole talk about when Lambo and when so-and-so, and people talking about I'm going to buy a yacht and I'm going to buy so-and-so. If you do these things, in 10 years, you will hate yourself because you're going to be broke again. That's the nicest way that I could say, like, that's actually the nicest way that I could put it into words in English. Make sure you learn about finance, how money works, how you can make your money grow. Don't put your money into a bank account. Don't put your money into a CD. You'll get like 0.1% every single year on the money that you have inside there. It's just, I cannot and will not ever tell you what to do with your money, but please open your eyes. Didn't mean to spend that much time on this. It's just a topic that completely drives me insane. People don't realize that we're going to get older. Like, this isn't it. Like, if there's a meteor tomorrow or the aliens come and get at us, I'm sorry, then, I was wrong. But as it's looking right now, we're probably going to have a couple more years being alive on this planet. So it's imperative that you just learn how to save and stop buying things that you don't need. Like, you don't need 4 televisions in your house if you have a 1-bedroom. That's not a thing. Like, people don't need that many TV screens. Like, you don't always have to, whatever. I'm not going to tell people how to live their lives. But just understand, and please heed my words, if you will. Even if it's just half of what you do right now, I'm a lot more conservative as far as money, and I go full force. I want to be incredibly rich in the next 5 years. I want to be so comfortable. that I never even have to think of being it. I never want to have to write down the word job ever again. Like I want it to be deleted from my vocabulary. And I want the exact same for all of you. You just have to realize the time to start is right now. Not financial advice, but my goodness, how much different the world would be economically if, even just in the United States, if people just bought Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency and came together. Imagine if we had billions of dollars flowing into the cryptocurrency space every single year because we had an enormous amount of people who were learning about crypto and they kept their money there. Right. Let's move on. So yeah, continuing on. It says Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market will grow steadily and slowly in 2019. This was said by Gabor Gorbaks, the chief digital asset strategist at Van Eck, a New York-based investment giant, said that investors would be more comfortable while investing in digital assets. Development and custody and surveillance programs, he added, would bring due diligence to the cryptocurrency industry. At the same time, crypto 2.0 products like futures and exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, would ensure simple entry points for retail and institutional investors to access the crypto markets. Here's the actual tweet. Scrolling down. Investors do not accept cut corners in the digital asset market structure. They expect a lot of custodians to come to the market. They expect their assets to be safe, which means non-nefarious activities should be toned down by increasing surveillance. And frankly, most of the investors want to invest in assets conveniently with the systems they already understand. I mentioned that before. A lot of people didn't understand why there was such a huge push right now in the crypto space by institutions and by whatever to have these things that the traditional investors already understand. It comes down to the fact that they won't get into crypto unless they have ETFs or they have futures, because these are phrases that they understand themselves, and this is why there's a huge push kind of getting to that. I'm not going to spend this kind of a brush over article. It kind of comes like we have a lot of what's the word? Not suspicions, predictions. It sounds kind of similar as to where crypto is going to go in 2019. I don't think crypto is going anywhere anytime soon. I think a lot of things still need to be worked on. Like we need a lot more structure to kind of go on. And once again, that same exact thing comes back to where is it? Where's the word? Like custodians and stuff like that, as far as like custody solutions or people to be able to hold your cryptocurrencies. And if I'm not mistaken, the NASDAQ is also going to have their own cryptocurrency exchange and their own like custody platform, which I think is going to completely change the cryptocurrency game as we know it. If you haven't realized at this point that A, crypto isn't going anywhere, and B, that crypto is going to make a lot of people very rich, and C, that is going to be the richest people in the world who are going to continue to become richer, I refer you back to this tab over here. I said it before until I was like blue in the face in one video. The people who are getting into cryptocurrencies right now, if we ever end up having a Bitcoin price over $1 million ever, we're going to have the first trillionaires on our planet. It's already believed. First of all, the way that the world is moving, if you've ever looked at charts of how when the NASDAQ and the stock exchanges like go up and they kind of go down, then they go up and they kind of go down, go so and so and so. The conservative estimates that we have right now is that within our lifetime, that's me, you, I, us, all of us still living, we're going to see the world's first trillionaire. Think about that. It wasn't long ago that we didn't even have a billionaire on this planet, and now we have multiple billionaires. And this is why I think the idea that crypto is dead, or that so many people have left the space because they can't see the long-term prospects of where the cryptocurrency space is going. There's a tweet from the NASDAQ talking about the future of cryptocurrencies, which are 10 years old, that someone created on a computer in a room somewhere, potentially by themselves. If you think crypto's going somewhere, it's definitely not. And if you think yeah, you know what? Why not? Special video. I saw someone talking before about how they can't wait until there are no more rich people in the world. And I sat back for a couple of seconds and I contemplated if I should ask them the question. And I said, what do you mean by that? They said that they had heard from someone else that eventually There are going to be more people, and I hate the word poor. There are going to be more people who don't have the proper funds allocated to them or that they have compared to rich people. And therefore, the rich people will kind of buckle under their own weight because they will realize in this euphoric moment that we need poor people. We need to pay these people. We need to be fair to them. And I sat there and I looked them in the eyes and I was like, do you know what automation is? And they were like, yeah, but that's about 10, 15, 20 years away. I mentioned this before in other videos, and I'll dig a little tiny bit deeper, and I will tell you why I'm so fascinated with robotics, why I'm fascinated with, I think it's called futurism. It pretty much comes down to like what the future will bring for us and how technology will change our lives and how it will change healthcare and how it will change everything around us. Spoke to my friend and I said, the idea that we are going to enter any type of a future where the people who are multi-billionaires have $50 billion who are spending $500 million on a painting right now, that they're going to go away, is nonsensical. Why? Because to put it the simplest way, and it comes down to a lot of the documentaries that I've watched about like the future and technology and the stuff that Google is building and the other things, is that right now at this very moment, and it'll be even more hyper in the next 10 years, is that rich people don't actually need servants or help or anything like that really anymore. Why, you might ask? And this is already happening a lot of places as well. You may have noticed there are things, you don't have to have a doorman. You have like the little thing that you can insert on the wall and the door. Amazon also has one. Like if someone's delivering packages, you can kind of see who's at your door. You can have drones flying around your house. And as we get more AI and stuff like that, they'll be able to see exactly who's on your property, who's on your land. I don't know if you guys have seen that thing that came out like 2 or 3 years ago that's like almost perfected. I think a couple people even have it right now. They're like these robotic arms. You can Google it, like Google or YouTube, like robot arms kitchen. You'll definitely be able to find it. It's these 2 arms. They cut the food for you, they cook it for you, and then it slides down on its rail and it even washes dishes for you. We're entering a world where robots are going to take over everything, where we're going to have self-driving cars, which means that rich people won't need drivers. They won't really have to. We're going to have we already have completely self-automated supermarkets where no one works inside. Thank you, Amazon. We also have another situation where we have like factories and stuff like that, like where there's one person who walks around to make sure that the machines are okay, and there's one person working in the entire factory. And the factory, when he leaves, he turns the light off because they're robots and they work 24 hours a day and they don't need the light. So imagine if this is what we have right now, imagine what the world is going to be like in 10 years. It's just completely fascinating how much the world is going to change and so many people don't get it. And it makes me upset and sad at the exact same time that so many people, and we all know one of these people, that so many people complain about the way that their life is right now and how things just aren't that good and things are only getting worse. And I look at them sometimes and I'm like, well, it's going to get a lot worse if you do nothing to be able to make money. If you do nothing to save money, put money aside, to look into other investments. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is. But and these are only the things that I can actually remember in my head at this moment. The world is going to change a lot. One of the reasons why I'm so big on crypto is not only because if I had seen deep down that there was no future for the cryptocurrency space, like if we had no NASDAQ, no New York Stock Exchange, no so-and-so, no blah, 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 getting into crypto, I would have assumed that crypto was dying, that crypto was dead, that crypto was going nowhere. But the fact that I know that there's eventually going to be a multi-trillion-dollar cryptocurrency market, we made it up to 800 billion last year. We weren't that far away. We were about a good week and a half worth of hype away from hitting $1 trillion market. I know in my heart, and just based off of science and logical reasoning, that the world is not going to be doing any better in 10 years. And I'm trying to make sure in some way that my friends and family also understand that this is happening. And I'm trying to sometimes not the best result, to get them into cryptocurrencies, to let them understand where this is going to take people. We're going to have a world very soon that's going to be very dystopian. There are going to be a lot of people who do not have the means to do anything. And we're going to have a situation where in California, certain parts of California, other countries in the world, where even making $250,000 per year is still considered low income. And then what does that do for people who are making $25,000 per year? Like, where does that actually leave them? Yeah. Let's move on. This is becoming like a very intense video. I didn't mean it to turn out this way. It's just like it's not that I try to like be nice in videos, but I try to just deliver the news. But there's so much crap happening in the world that there's like, and people don't get it. And it makes me like, I want to like punch something sometimes, because the fact that the entirety of the United States alone, no one else, hasn't thrown money into the cryptocurrency space, when all the signs are obvious that this isn't going anywhere anytime soon, makes me very upset. The fact that I've met so many people in my life, even just if I slimmed it down to my adult life, who have no interest in finance, who have no interest in saving money and having a financially stable future, just makes me really upset, because it's like, I've met people before, even years and years ago when I was not a lot younger, I was still younger, whatever the case might be. And I've met people in their 60s and early 70s and stuff like that. And they told me 15 years ago, they were like, don't be like me. Make sure that you save your money, that you invest. I knew this old guy. He told me pretty much that he had like he had some type of a business in the 70s. He was making really good money. I think he was making like $25,000 per week in the 70s. He was making extremely great money. Figured out that like one of his friends or something like that was like stealing from him. He didn't even care. He was going on all these like lavish, expensive, crazy trips. And then the market that he was in, he was doing something with like stocks or gold and silver. I can't remember exactly what it was. The market popped. He lost all of his money. And when I did see him years ago, I hope he's still okay. He was, I think, on like government support and stuff like that. And I sat there and I'm like, do you know what 10,000 a week now gets you? Like how well off you would be. Imagine in the 70s if you were making 25,000. Like it's just this completely weird cycle that I still I see continuously going. I think one of the craziest parts of the future, and this is contingent on if Bitcoin actually ends up making it, is if we have cryptocurrency lotteries. And I don't mean like the dApps and stuff that we have out there that people are trying to make and stuff like that. And like what's the other one? Like ETH FOMO or something like that. I mean like actual like government state sponsored lotteries where they pay out in cryptocurrencies. The irony being that people will be probably paying in crypto to try to get more crypto when they could have gotten crypto right now, last year, the year before, 2014, 2012, they didn't pay attention to it. And to think of how weird that's going to be, should we have this crypto takeover world where people are paying in cryptocurrencies that they had to buy or work to get in order to be able to have the chance or hope. Like imagine a really weird situation. Just indulge me for half a second. Where Bitcoin's price ends up hitting $100 million, like I said, indulge me. And you see a lotto and the grand prize is like 0.10 Bitcoin. How weird of a situation that's going to be for all of us walking down the street when we see like the max prize is 0.10 Bitcoin. Just to think about how much it is right now. Like I said, indulge me. Could be possible. No one knows. You can't say no because nobody knows the future. That's just how things work out. Anyway, let's move on. Next up. Two popular cryptocurrency exchanges known as Poloniex and Deribit, not that popular, sorry, announced that they suspended activities for a short period of time. On Twitter, both exchanges informed their customers that they had been experiencing technical issues with their platforms. Poloniex, for example, said that they had some technical difficulties and that trading had been disabled. At the same time, trading had been placed in a maintenance mode. Here's the tweet from them. Deribit explained that they had experienced locked orders between 19:30 and 20 o'clock. Due to this reason, trading had been halted. However, the situation is now under control and trading books are once again open. The platform informed that they are investigating these issues. Even in the title over here, it says what's happening with cryptocurrency exchanges. I don't know if you should. It was like a day or two ago. I said the attacks are too close for me not to assume that something nefarious is not happening behind the scenes. We've just been, it's kind of the same exact thing that we had at the end of 2017, where we had all the countries talking about that they were going to ban cryptocurrencies. We were done with cryptocurrencies. You have to do this for cryptocurrencies. We're going to enforce it and we're going to get rid of it. The fact that every week there's like 3 cryptocurrency exchanges who are getting hacked, or who are having problems, or who are having DDoS attacks, denial of service attacks, they're happening a bit too close. It's just a little weird for me. I have my own speculations or ideas as to who could be doing this. Not that I know who's doing it. It's more like I told you guys before. It's a little weird. Like, we used to have hacks and stuff like that before, but it was like maybe one every 2 or 3 months. It was like they weren't rare, but they were still like, it was normally like smaller exchanges, or like an exchange that maybe you heard about once or twice, and it was kind of like, oh, that sucks for them. They would lose like 30,000 Bitcoin or something would happen to them. Since we had the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange talking about opening their own cryptocurrency exchange trading platforms, like 4 times a week, there's something happening with the cryptocurrency exchange. There's always like some type of an outage, or something isn't working properly, and they have to do this. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm over analyzing, or maybe I'm under analyzing. Maybe I'm just looking from it from one perspective, the way that I'm looking at it, as opposed to taking a couple steps to the right and then looking at it from another way. It does seem a little weird, in my opinion, that when the crypto market was going crazy and going up, that we didn't even have these many hacks. The fact that the crypto market is going down and there are all these attacks on these exchanges who are like producing low volume right now does seem a little weird, unless it's just me. Anyway, these are another 2 exchanges who have had or have been having issues, and apparently everything is okay right now. I know a lot of people, or rather people out there, use Poloniex, so make sure that your funds are safe, and I guess to another extent, Deribit. Check and see that your money is still there. And once again, this is another reason for proof of keys. It's the uptick in hacks that we've seen happening are happening on centralized exchanges, air quotes. Try to find maybe a better way to store your cryptocurrency so you don't have to worry about articles like this and worrying about if you have lost money that you have on you. Just a little hint. To kind of breeze over this one, crypto finance startup known as Circle, their USDC stablecoin, was fully backed with fiat reserves at the close of 2018, according to an audit from the firm known as Grant Thornton. The auditor published an attestation report on Wednesday, stating that Circle had $251 million held in custody accounts as of the 31st of December, against the $251 million that they had circulating at the time. Goldman Sachs-backed Circle currently has a total of 353 million tokens on the market, according to the data from Etherscan, indicating it has topped up supply by about 100 million tokens within the last 15 days. That's a lot of tokens. In this report, Grant Thornton noted that its examination was conducted in accordance with attestation standards established by the American Institute of Certified Public Accounts. The firm's previous attestation of Circle's assets back in November also found no issues. Circle has had just under $127 million as of Halloween, enough to redeem its USDC token circulating at the time. This may seem like the most boring news that we've had in quite some time, but this is going to continue happening. The reason why this is significant is that we know that, where is it? Circle, and where is the other one? Somewhere around here, the other coin name, whatever the case might be, that they're real, that they actually have the money. Because for those who may be relatively new to the cryptocurrency space, we have a coin called Tether, and Tether in 2017 went from, I think, around 400,000 coins or something like that. 400 million was. So anyway, a couple million to 8 billion. and then to 2 billion, and then it was like 2 point something billion. And every single time that someone tried to audit them or figure out if they actually had the cash reserves to be able to back up their stablecoin, they kept on saying no. Or they hired internal whatever within themselves who did their own auditing, and they were like, yeah, they have the money. And then they had another partner who tried to look into if they had the correct funds. And then that person was like, they didn't even let us look at their order books. And then we had, what was it, Bloomberg or something like that, like a couple of months ago, who was like, no, they're real. Everyone stopped looking into it. They're definitely real. So the fact that we have any type of transparency like this is very significant, because typically for other stablecoins, we have not seen them. I still believe that Paxos, maybe Gemini, I think it's more so Paxos at this point, is probably going to be one of the largest stablecoins, because we had news about a month and a half ago of all these like institutions and companies and stuff like that who were into Paxos. Why not have fun with your Paxos? Anyway, the point is, these things are real. We're getting a lot more audits on these things, because part of the problem was, to finish it off, is that while Tether was printing these coins that they may or may not have had the reserves for, they probably didn't. The assumption is that they were actually printing these Tether and buying up Bitcoin with them. And the more, if you print $100 million and you buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin at market prices, what happens to the price of Bitcoin? It turns green and it starts going up. And if you keep doing this over and over the course of certain years, we had analysts last year who were looking at the every single time that Tether was printed, and that there was a huge amount of Bitcoin that was bought up. Really weird, right? That the price of Bitcoin would also start to go back up. Anyway, for the sake of hoping that we have a better cryptocurrency market, all the stablecoins are now doing audits, letting us know that they actually have the money, because when we do eventually have a bull run, people need to know that the coins that they're putting their money into are actually real and aren't fake coins that someone else are printing out at will. To kind of finish things up, crypto trading startup known as ErisX is expanding its board of directors as it prepares to launch spot and derivative markets for digital assets, including Bitcoin and eventually for Ethereum. The company announced on Thursday that Joseph Lubin, who is the founder of the Ethereum development studio Consensus, and Chris Conda, a technology entrepreneur, had joined the board. They will serve alongside DRW CEO Don Wilson, Valor Equity Partners managing partner Antonio Gracias, and ErisX CEO Thomas Chipas. In a press release, ErisX cited Lubin's experience working in the digital asset space and his familiarity with the Ethereum network. He was part of the third largest cryptocurrency's founding team. The company initially plans to provide Bitcoin futures products when it launches, though this launch may be delayed by the ongoing U.S. government shutdown, but plans to add support for Ethereum and Litecoin futures down the line. ErisX head of managed marketing Jessica Darmani told CoinDesk via email that launching Ether products remains a goal for the company, but declined to say if the company was planning to actively lobby for or announce an Ether futures product in the near future. Couple of things. I don't know if you guys caught it, and gals out there caught it. One, the co-founder of Ethereum is now part of ErisX, these people who are making products for digital currencies. It's almost certain at this point that there's at some point going to be Ethereum, and I guess surprisingly Litecoin futures as well, which is either going to have a very good then bad, or very good and good effect on the price. We saw before with Bitcoin futures, when we had first wind of Bitcoin futures, people kind of lost their minds. The Bitcoin price kind of went completely insane and started shooting up, and then we figured out that the Bitcoin futures weren't going to be physical, meaning people weren't actually sending Bitcoin back and forth between themselves. I hope that Joseph Lubin, being a head of the board of directors of something, whatever his title might be, that he makes sure that when Ethereum futures are launched, that they are physical. That would have an amazing effect on the price of Ethereum. And this also leads to like a very interesting situation with Litecoin. This may be, if I'm not mistaken, I read through the news a lot and I go through all the cryptocurrency space, that I've myself heard of a Litecoin futures. If there's a Litecoin futures, probably, and it's denominated in the actual cryptocurrency, that is going to be a very big price movement for Litecoin, who seems to be a bit easier to be able to kind of move around in price, if you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, it's not as steady as Bitcoin, and I think a move up like that would be something very interesting. I'm still waiting, and this is what I really, I think at this point, desperately need to know. I'm tired of the government shutdown. I'm not even in the States, and I'm feeling the effects of it over here. I feel like we would have already gotten confirmation from the people from the New York Stock Exchange if BACT was going to launch, because I think and this is something else that I think people should be paying attention to, but they're not paying attention to, is what else the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are going to be launching. We know that they're launching Bitcoin futures, and we know that they're launching cryptocurrency trading desks, and we know that BACT is going to have like the payment system, so you can pay for your latte at Starbucks. But they've noted that they both plan on adding multiple different coins to their platform. They obviously have all said Bitcoin. None of them have solidified that they're going to be adding Ethereum. The New York Stock Exchange said, yeah, it was them, that they planned on, or rather they saw no issue with adding things that could be considered security, so they saw no reason why they wouldn't be adding XRP to their platform, as they hold all the necessary paperwork should XRP actually be a security. I still think whatever coins both of those platforms end up announcing, my opinion, are going to shoot up very, very fast. This is going to give exposure that you can't really get from doing it on your own. In the cryptocurrency space, everyone knows the name Bitcoin. To a lesser extent, very lesser extent, people know the names Ethereum and Ripple, sometimes XRP if you kind of clarify it for them. Litecoin, not so much EOS, not so much Stellar, blah, 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 what have you. When we get those names and they put it out there, you have to remember that the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are worldwide institutions. They're not just in New York. They're not just in the States. You can kind of deal with them all around the world. So when you see a situation where the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ is going to launch, imagine them announcing we're going to be launching Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Litecoin futures. That would be the sun would be shining that morning. I think that's definitely going to do it for this video. I mean, come on, Joseph Lubin, you got to get it together. Ethereum has been having a very rocky months, not even a day or a week. Ethereum's kind of shaking at the moment, but it kind of shows you that there's a lot of money in this space. If you once again read between the lines, or just even read their names and look at how much money these people have and what they're planning on doing, like you need money to be able to offer futures products. Like, this isn't something you can, have a couple thousand in the bank and then you're like, let's do it. Yeah, let's go make this money. You have to have money already behind you. So it's one of the main reasons why I think Ethereum is definitely not going anywhere. There's too much money behind it. There's too much backing behind it. I think too many people have thrown too many millions behind it to see Ethereum kind of fade away. But that Litecoin, that actually threw me for a loop. I think I would become a lot more bullish on Litecoin if we heard that we were going to have, imagine Litecoin futures, physically held Litecoin futures, and a Litecoin ETF. How that would change a lot of things. Alrighty, everybody, that is 48,000% going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Please pay attention to your finances. I know it may not be easy. It's easier said than done. I totally get that. But it's possible for everyone not even to cut corners. You know that you buy stuff that you don't need that could potentially, not financial advice, go to a brighter future for you financially. Take a couple of seconds, and I mean this, if you have a chance, get a pen and paper and write down all the stuff in your room and in your living room that you bought that you don't really need. Add all of that up. Think about when you got it, and think about how much of that you could have put into Bitcoin about 5-6 something years ago. All right, everybody. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.